What's up, old school metal vinyl fanatics? Welcome back to the channel. Now, this is gonna be a tough episode for me because I'm about to discuss the music and vinyl releases of a band which belongs to the circle of bands which I'm a moderate fan of, I would say, without being a die-hard fan of, if that makes any sense. I know this is gonna be probably one of my controversial opinions, which will grant me some hatred in the comment section, but before you started bombing me with insults, please listen up to what I have to say. First of all, there's no question about it that this band belongs to death metal elite. They wrote pages of death metal history. They have like what 11 or 12 albums under their belt, all of them being at least very strong, if not masterpieces, just like in the case of the first album we're about to see right now. So hats off to the band, the skilled musicians, incredibly tight. Total respect for them. They deserve each and every bit of success they had because they've been so dedicated to this kind of music. You can't but respect that. At the same time, gotta say, I don't know, something in their music never fully convinced me. I don't know what it is exactly, but somehow, I don't know, they've never been phase of mine in the same way as D-Side, Morbid Angel, Asphyx, Early Obituary, etc., etc. Whether it is, I don't know, the fact that their music is so intricate and technical and perhaps a little bit harder to headbang to, or I don't know what the problem is. If you ask me what I don't necessarily like about Immolation, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. But let's start from the beginning. Now, my first confrontation with the band dates back to 1992, which is when I bought their debut album, Dawn of Possession. My goodness, what a brilliant, gorgeous cover artwork. This is, my opinion, hands down, one of the top 5 death metal cover artworks of all times. Like, look at this. This is just a work of beauty. The artist, well-known Marshall dude, is just came up with this concept, which is absolutely beautiful. This demon staring down the angels of heaven. Absolutely beautiful. I still remember the day I walked into the store and saw this LP. I used to be, like a typical die-hard fanatic at the time. I was like 16, 17, and I bought pretty much every LP I could lay my hands on. And the instant I saw this cover art, was like, I was totally sold. I said like, okay, whatever this LP costs, I have to buy it. Of course, I bought it, brought it back home, gave it, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 pins somehow. I did like it, don't get me wrong, but somehow not as much as I hoped I would. Compared to this side, I don't know, for instance, which used to be like my favorite band back in the day, I found their music kind of more cryptic, harder to get it perhaps to get into perhaps, and as a result, this is not the very first copy I have of the LP, because that one, with the one I bought in 1992, ended up being traded or sold. Can't really remember the moment. Only a couple of months later, like, I think. This is the second copy I own, or better say I owned, because I sold it some days ago. It's in really beautiful copy, near mint slash near mint conditions. It's been signed by the band, because I saw the band live 3 or 4 times. Had a chance to talk, have a small chat with the guys. Lovely people. So again, nothing personal on Immolation. It's probably just me being too much of a poser to fully appreciate their music. Even like that, on this album, I absolutely love the first song, Into Everlasting Fire, the second one, but other than that, yeah, this album, just like all the other ones, just didn't really do it for me. But I'm a certified poser, so what do you expect from me, really? Just like that, after this album, not being fully satisfied with it, I traded it, and I kind of lost track on what was going on in the Immolation headquarters for several years. That means until the early 2000s, when I acquired through a trade this LP, The Close to a World Below One, which is again another really solid death metal album, don't get me wrong, but for some reason, I don't know, this is, as I said before, one of those bands that I really enjoy. A couple of tracks, selected tracks from each album, but not the whole album. but not a full album as a whole. So if you get my point, again, solid death metal record. I traded I don't remember what, but really something minor against it. So in hindsight, really sweet deal. A couple of years later, I managed to acquire both Unholy Cult and Harnessing Ruin, which are the two rarest Immolation vinyl around, especially Unholy Cult. It's limited to 666 copies. There are only two different vinyl editions around. This is the original black vinyl version, which is incredibly rare just because it's limited. And also, funny thing is that this album has not been funny. Actually, it's a sad thing that this album has not been released up to date. I have no idea why. It only exists as the regular vinyl pressing that you're now seeing, and there's a picture disc edition, and that's about it. Which is why people pay top-notch money to secure a copy. This one sold for 400 euro, whopping 400 euro. Quite a lot of money, but it's an incredibly good album. If you're an Immolation fan, this is probably their best album next to Dawn of Possession, in my humble opinion. And just like that, Harnessing Ruin, that's another pricey rarity. It's limited to 700 hand-numbered copies, signed by the band again. Really good album, as I said before. In my case, being a poser, I only like a couple of songs, and probably will not spin the whole album. But if you're a fan, that's just one more Immolation masterpiece that you need to have in your collection. So these are the albums that I sold. What is still available in my collection, what you can still buy from me, is a Shadows in the Light. This is their first pressing on that sad excuse for a label that goes by the name of Night of the Braindead Vinyl Makers Dead from Italy, limited to 444 copies. Not exactly the best pressing ever, because you know that whatever Night of the Braindead Vinyl Makers Dead put out is absolute crap. Failures for Gods. This is their very first pressing on Metal Blade. Then we have Hereinafter. Now, Hereinafter originally came out as CD, and it was only released several years later by Metal Blade. There exists yet again another pressing done by the same Italian label that I don't want to mention again, which sucks because it is a pressing mistake. Don't buy that one, it's literally wasted money. Buy this edition. This is really as good as it can possibly be. Grayish vinyl. I will not ask more than 40 or 50 euro to get rid of my copy. Then you have Atonement, which I believe is their latest album up to date. Not really sure. Maybe not. Maybe there is another one. I kind of lost track on Immolation in the last days. Kingdom Conspiracy. Bloody brilliant album, absolutely great. And Majesty and Decay, another masterpiece in Immolation's discography, or at least, like one of the strongest releases they put out, for sure. No, the Mortician Brutally Mutilated picture disc is not for sale. That's the album I was listening to before recording this episode. So guys, that does it for this time. Let me know down in the comments what's your honest opinion about this band, which I'm sure will differ from mine, because you are not posers, I am one, and proud to be. If you're interested in the Immolation records which are still available, just feel free to get in touch, and I will come up with an offer, and let's do some business. And just like that, till the next time, keep it loud and heavy.